Hi, I'm Deb White, and I'm running for Moorhead City Council in Ward 3.
Okay. What are the most important issues in your race?
Well, the main issue that I'm really focusing on is increasing community engagement. And by that, what I've found is that Moorhead is a great community. I've loved living here. I've raised my family here. I've been here for 18 years. But we don't always do a great job of engaging our stakeholders, our residents, our business leaders, and others in making sure that they feel really informed and that they have a strong voice in decision making. And I really started to notice that in some of the issues that have affected my neighborhood. I live in the historic Comstock neighborhood, which I love, but it's an older neighborhood, and there's been issues that have been ongoing that have really concerned us. And so things like some of the development issues or problems with vacant property, in some cases even creating health and safety hazards. And we found that at times it was very difficult to have a voice in decision making or even just be informed about some of the changes that were happening in our neighborhood. And so I started to get involved because of that, and I realized that this wasn't an issue that was just affecting older neighborhoods. So for instance, I've heard about it even as I've been out talking to people in the community. There was an issue this summer near the Southside Regional Park, and it was an issue where they were working on putting in a new bike trail. And this was a great plan. It was something that they developed 15 years ago, but they've been waiting until they had funding for it. Well, they finally have the funding and they're working on moving ahead, but they never notified any of the homeowners. And so one of the, when I was at City Council sitting in on a meeting, and one of the quotes that really stood out to me was a homeowner who said, "Our city's notification process shouldn't be me coming home and finding steaks in my backyard." And I really thought that that was very telling, and that we can do a better job of making sure that people feel invested, that they really feel like they have a voice. And when I served on Planning Commission, this is something that I took very seriously. And one of the projects that I was involved in that I'm most proud of, that was something that most people aren't even aware of, was a development that is on the south side of the Prairie Home Cemetery. And it was the first time that we put in a multi-family 3-story building in the residential area, so next to single-family homes. And I knew this was potentially going to be a problem, and so I asked Christy Lashovsky, our city planner, if we could table the issue, and I worked with her to organize a meeting of homeowners and the developers. And that way we could sit down and we had a conversation about things like building material, what would the building look like, what kind of material would they use, setback, how close would it be to the single-family homes, how might we use things like terracing to make it less intrusive in terms of architectural design. And in the end, everybody got to have a voice on it, and the project went smoothly, and nobody ever talks about that project. And to me, it's a great example of what we can do when we bring people together. And so when I look at some of the things where the process has really failed us, I think it's important that we look at ways in which we can really engage our stakeholders and improve the process so that we can make better decisions for Moorhead.
You've maybe kind of addressed this in a way, but let's talk a little bit more about what you would do to address some of the issues.
Yes, I have several specific ideas of things that we would do. So first of all, examining our notification process. So we currently, we have standards in terms of when people are notified. We have to be in compliance with state rules and things like that. But we don't have to just be in compliance. We could go beyond that. So we could look at things and say, this is something that could be an area of concerns. Let's make sure that we are notifying residents. We also should look at the means by which we notify residents. So nothing against our printed forms, but printing things in a newspaper or mailing things is not an effective way, is not as effective as it used to be in terms of notifying residents. So using more electronic forms of notification. Moorhead has an e-notification process, but many people aren't signed up for e-notifications. It's also not using the best technology that we have, because we could do things like narrowcasting, of making sure that right now we just send some things and it goes out to everybody. But if we had a narrowcasting system where we could see this person lives in Ward 3, they'll get this notification of a new development that's happening in their neighborhood, and so on, that people could get more access to information more effectively. Along those lines, it shouldn't be just a two-way street, or excuse me, a one-way street. It should be a two-way process, so that not just that they're being notified, but they are being engaged and able to have a voice. So we can use electronic, so even social media, so that people can interact and share ideas. Make sure that there is a process for them providing input. And beyond that, it's really just looking at how we can even change the way that we meet with people in our city. So believe it or not everybody is thrilled about coming to City Hall at night and standing up at a podium with a TV on and speaking to City Council. And so we could do more things to get out of City Hall, like have some listening sessions. Right now we'll have public forums, but it's usually around a particular project. Why couldn't we have some more meetings during the year just to sit down, make sure that we're connecting with residents in Moorhead, and even collecting some of their great ideas that they have so we can make better decisions. So things like that we could do. And along those lines, one of the things that I plan on doing is following in the footsteps of our mayor and doing coffee. So I used to own a coffee business. I love coffee. So of course, an opportunity to sit down with people for coffee is something that I would enjoy, but it would allow me to continue to stay connected with people in Moorhead.
Great. The final question, what differentiates you from your opponents, and why should someone vote for you?
I think one of the big differences is in terms of the depth and the breadth of my experiences, and also my longstanding commitment to public service. Before moving to Moorhead, I was a small business owner. My husband and I owned a regional coffee business, and so I really understand some of the experiences and challenges that small business owners face. And so I have that perspective. When I've been at Minnesota State University Moorhead on the faculty for 18 years, and that's allowed me, for instance, to develop connections with local law enforcement. The department that I'm in, the Department of Sociology and Criminal Justice, which I also chaired for 6 years, is one of 2 programs that house law enforcement programs in our region. And so I've worked closely with local law enforcement, including on a 3-year study of community policing. I also, through my position at MSUM, established a regional leadership program for women, a public leadership program. We've been around for over 15 years, and we've served over 600 women in our community. And it really works at just expanding the voices in decision making. And we've had over 600 women come through the program and then go on to do things like form nonprofit organizations, lead nonprofit organizations, run for elected office, and otherwise create positive change in their community. I also have over 10 years of experience on public policy advocacy, so I understand the importance of developing ties with state-level elected officials on both sides of the aisle, and also really working at effectively sharing our story. And I'll use that experience to work at encouraging, expanding our border city legislation, and also making sure that we continue to move ahead with the diversion. Beyond that, as I mentioned, I served on Planning Commission, so I have a strong sense of planning and development issues in Moorhead, and I've been a community advocate, a neighborhood advocate for a long time, and so I'm a founding member of the historic Comstock Neighborhood Association, and one of the things that, or a couple of the things that I've done there are things such as organizing meetings. So I've throughout the years organized different meetings in my home, so I'll bring together residents and developers so they can talk about development issues that are affecting our community. I've worked to organize meetings between people in my older neighborhood and other neighborhoods so that we can talk about things like developing historic overlays in Moorhead, which we don't currently have, and looking at some of the other unique issues that are affecting older neighborhoods. And so I would love the opportunity to take all of those, the rich experiences that I've had in, with many different stakeholders and different communities in Moorhead, and use that to benefit my community. Thank you.